In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the patch tool, content aware move tool, and explain and demo a little bit more about the clone stamp tool. Here's our original image, a bunny sitting in the grass with some little flowers around it by a fence. With clone stamping that I've done on another layer, this will help again with not necessarily destroying, but not altering the original image in case you want to go back to it, and having a little bit more control if I wanted to put a mask on here, or even perhaps use my erase tool. I have much more control. But with my clone stamp, you can see little bits of green and stuff. I've moved some grass around. So if you look quickly, you can see that I've cleaned up around the bunny's ears and face. I've added a few more flowers here and there. So one more time. And once you go back and forth between the original and the new one, you can sort of see how maybe you want to clean some of these things up, which is very possible to do. But I wanted you to see how you can work with the clone tool in a quick manner, and how sometimes you have to be very careful about how much clone you use. So maybe with this I'd want to clone the flower but not necessarily the leaf attached. So all good things to just practice with and become more aware of. The content aware move tool. So with this I move the bunny from one place to the next. So go from here to here. So again, you can sort of see little cleanups might be needed, especially after you look at both of them back to back, but it moves the image quite nicely. And then the patch tool is I take the bunny out completely. There's different ways you could do this. It's not necessarily you have to remove the bunny from the picture. I could have removed flowers, or I could have moved things around. I'm just showing you one way out of many that you can work with these types of things. So let's get started. So I'm actually going to turn these off and start with the original. And I'll do a new layer for the clone stamp. And I'll just label this clone stamp 2. And let's see, I'm going to come over here to my clone stamp. Depending on how big you want, again, brush size does matter. So if I wanted, we'll say just a little flower, I can make this really small. And that's my source right there. And there you go, boom. And again, I'm holding down Option or Alt in a PC. And I'm moving that around. Be careful about how big your image is, how well you can zoom in, and how realistic you want it to look as well. Because maybe these flowers want to sit in certain positions, or maybe there's the darker greens or the lighter greens, and it can start to look off after a while. So again, it just depends on what you want. If you're just having fun, then go for it. But start to think about how these line up. So you can see here, this was an even break sort of between a light and dark, and then this is still a circle. So what I could do, because I am on a separate layer, I can go in and I could use my erase tool if I wanted to, and really clean that up so it's just the flower. But what I would probably do overall is do a mask, and then with my black and my brush selected, go in and take that out. That gives me way more control. If I don't like it, I can just go back in. My opacity is down low, so I'm just going to raise that up. You can have a hard brush, a soft brush. It really just depends on what you're trying to achieve. Maybe a soft on the edges, and then a harder once you get around the flowers. And that can just really help blend that in a lot more to look like it belongs. So I would fully suggest doing something like this than maybe going right on the layer. But again, it's your option of what you want to do. So that is the clone tool. Easy enough to do. Again, if I wanted a bigger, let's go to the clone again. If I wanted a bigger one, I would just bring up my stamp size select this amount, and click away. And so that was a good mistake because it showed that I went on my mask instead of my layer. So that was great for you to see that, and now it will stay. So if something seems off, like it's not going the way it should be, make sure that you're connected. So this is for cleanup, to make sure it blends in nicely. This is for actually putting the objects down. So I'm glad I caught that to show you that. All right, so that is clone. So content aware move tool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Command J, I'm going to copy that layer, and then I'm going to do, let's see, content aware. And with this, you can get as close as you want, or maybe you want a little bit further away. It really just depends on what you're striving for. So I've selected it all. Then all I have to do after that is just move it. So I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm just pushing enter or return. Let the program do its thing. So it didn't get the head as much as I would have liked, but it did move it well. So though the content aware tool I think can be good sometimes, like I'd rather work with the patch tool or clean it up with the other ones that I might have a little bit more control over. But this might work somewhere where there's like a dog on the beach and you don't want the dog there, but there's plenty of room for you to move, and there's like less noise in the grass, maybe there's just sand and water. So go ahead and try that out. But overall, that's what the content aware move tool does. All right, so let's go to the patch tool now. So this is what I did. I removed the rabbit. So coming up to the patch tool, just like the content aware, we're just quickly like wrapping around the rabbit. And the good thing about the patch tool is I can come over here and I can select the area that I want it to look at. So maybe I do want it to look like this. This is the area I've selected. It's in the shape of the rabbit selection I made. And I'm just going to let go of it, and it's going to show you that. And then instead of pushing enter, you just push deselect, Command D, and there we go. So I think that did a much better job than the content aware. And again, they all have their advantages, disadvantages. Really just depends on your image, I think. So there's a few things that I want to do there to clean that up. But let's see, unlike the content aware, let's see if this will work on a new layer. I'm not sure if it will actually. No, it won't. So both of these have to be on their own layer. So this is where, unfortunately, you can't do that on a new layer, but what you can do is that you can pick your location, one that matches as much as possible, and then, you know, it really tries to match it up for you as well. Deselect, and then you can go in, and so, you know, over here you can do a little move here, you know, and start to blend these in much better. So I think that's pretty good overall. And so that's, again, the patch tool, content aware, and the clone tool again. And they're going to give you all different results. Try them out. Try different images, one with more noise, like something like this with different grass heights and colors. And then also try something like the beach, where maybe it's just more like one tone of the sand. And you'll get all these different kinds of results. So again, here was the original patch I did, the original content aware. So you can still see that it needs some cleanup here and there. Here's my clone stamp ads, and there's the original.